The illustrations in Burning Walls for Paper Spirits arise from an ambition to form thoughtful images that accompany Anne's thoughtful poems. As the poems look at everything, spanning from the symbolic to the physical in modern Singapore, it was important that the illustrations reflected this gamut with purpose, and in a way that was core. Two important precedents that informed the book's visual language are the drawings of Frances Alice and envelope poems by Emily Dickinson. Alice uses drawings as a tool of the process towards a larger multidisciplinary work, and envelope poems is a publication of Dickinson's poems with the original fragmented manuscripts, which are visual contexts alongside her timeless poetry. Something key to the collection that I found is that it shares an empathy with the design tool of trace paper. That is, to go over something over and over again, running new lines through an image. With trace, it is all in an iterative practice to learn something tacit and to get at something new that was there all along. And in a similar fashion, and almost a reverse movement with Burning Walls for Paper Spirits, Anne is picking at the layers behind the objects, not with an aim of deconstructing, but in an aspiration to see the wireframe together with the motif, and to find that a constructed image in our practice, whether we understand it, claim it, or not, has depth. These black and white illustrations combine trace overlays, delicate pencil, rough line, and photographic drawings in an attempt to capture the layers and nuances of each poem and its practice. A big part of the research into the work was through photographing and remembering images in the everyday, whilst resisting the impulse to iconize local motifs. In a way, these read like the poems. There is more to see and imagine the more you read into it. Certain poems were really challenging to visualize. For example, To an Angry Man in the Seventh Month is filled with imagery that was and is unfamiliar to me. And for this I decided to focus on what I understood to be the character of this man rather than how he looked or how he was adorned. Android Trees was a poem of contrasts, and looking closely at the stasis of the tree, I found that there was actually something quite active and automatic about it, and I took that as the main driving force behind the illustration for this poem. Many illustrations are also set firmly in place. The palm trees in the poem SAM are inverse chandeliers in the Singapore Art Museum, and the foliage in Cloud Walking is from an image I took somewhere between MacRitchie Reservoir and Windsor Nature Park in Singapore. Some images are very object-centric. The image in Awaiting a Stone takes directly from the idea and object of petrified wood, and the interiority and exteriority referenced in the poem An Institute of Education brought to mind bagged fruit on trees. That was used as a sole visual metaphor for the poem. Lastly, the illustrations for Singapore weather and Inuka are special because they become a larger single image. Reading the climate of materialism in Singapore weather and the incompatibility of Inuka with our heat, together as a larger formation, hones a new perspective of context and effect. This was a wonderful project to be a part of, and I hope that these illustrations ground Anne's poetry in your own.